Our boy Tony did it. Oh, I was just on edge all episode. That was a crazy 3 hour finale. I'm still trying to process everything that happened. Every little twist and turn, I thought, oh no, Tony's done. Oh no, it's over. Oh no, Tony's going home. But he just kept hanging on and he pulled out the victory. You know, when it came down to that final vote between Michelle, Natalie, and Tony, I was just sitting there thinking, how do you not vote for Tony? Like, yes, Natalie had herself a great resume. She had an unbelievable edge of extinction. She came back to the game and totally dominated the end of the game, but it just didn't stack up to everything that Tony did all season long. That's 4 immunity idols or 4 immunities he won. I think he had 2 hidden immunity idols. He was manipulating votes. He had that big backstab on Sophie, and just a phenomenal game. And on top of that, he was unbelievably entertaining to watch. And at the end of the day, for me, is when I watch this show, I want to be entertained. I don't want to just see people sitting around strategizing. I want to see the people be themselves. I want to see some of their personalities. I want to see Tony swinging a shark around on the beach like a madman. I want to see Tony climbing trees with a ladder he made out of bamboo that was not safe for any workplace on the planet. I want to see Tony in that spy nest. I want to see Tony rooting around for idols. That's fun to watch. That's entertaining. And I'm so happy that he won by far the most deserving this season. And yeah, that's what I was rooting for. I think many of us watching were rooting for Tony, and very happy to see him take home that $2 million check and maybe now become the king of Survivor. So let's just I'm not really going to go over the episode too much, just kind of talk about some of the things that went on this season, some of the players. First up, I would like to talk about Sarah. I really liked what Sarah did at the end of the game. And she had an agonizing decision there between Ben and Michelle. And I really feel like she made an error. You know, that came down to like her chance of winning the game. You know, who does Sarah win over? Well, maybe Sarah doesn't beat Natalie. Maybe Sarah doesn't beat Tony, but I do think that she beats Ben and beats Michelle. And when it really came down to it, I think Sarah and Natalie would have been neck and neck if that had been 2 of the final 3. So her decision there, you know, she picks to vote out Ben when, you know, if Ben had stayed, that totally changes the end of the game, changes that last challenge that Natalie won. You know, maybe Ben ends up winning that challenge, and you maybe end up with Sarah, Ben, Tony as your final 3. But obviously, that is not what we saw, and I really think that Sarah really did make a great case for herself. You know, she stood up for herself at tribal council and spoke her mind and said, you know, a lot of the times when someone lies, cheats, and steals, if it's a woman, they're terrible, they're an atrocious person, and when it's a man, it's great gameplay. That was something she said, and like you think back on the season and even how I've perceived things over even this season, it's very true. And I mean, that bias isn't the entire game, but it does play a factor. I mean, we see all the winners out there and who our favorite players were this season, and it's not just a male dominated world. It's not a male dominated game. There are women who are absolutely crushing it. Look at Natalie. She demolished Edge of Extinction. She came back. She ran show for the final week of Survivor. And Sarah, she played such a great game. You know, the only thing that worked against her is Tony was just playing better. And Tony was reading situations better. He was seeing the game better. Even if you look back to this episode, the vote where they were going to vote, or when Natalie first came back, and there was the 3 idols played at Tribal, and Tony kept saying, you know, she probably has an advantage, and Sarah and Ben flatly refused to even consider it as a possibility, and it almost blew up their entire game. You know, it resulted in them having to spend 2 extra immunity idols. You know, that was Ben and Tony's immunity idol, and you know, maybe that's better for Sarah having those idols played, having Natalie's idol played, and then yeah, that's kind of just how things play out. Let's just kind of move on. Natalie, you know, I was very much rooting for her to get back from Edge of Extinction. She played her ass off on Edge of Extinction, and I think under a normal year, under a normal season of Survivor, she probably takes home the victory. But her resume just couldn't stand up to what Tony did. You know, nobody wrote Tony's name down all season long. Like, not one vote. 0 votes. 0 votes to Tony. And that's impressive. And Natalie, you know, fought back from Edge of Extinction, but really wasn't part of the game. And how do you justify giving someone the victory that was playing a different game? And like, yes, Edge of Extinction is part of Survivor, but it's a weird route to take to victory. And credit to Natalie, she almost did it. And really, if she would have got Tony out, probably is our victor. Ben, you know, I felt bad for Ben to make it all the way to the end, to the final 5, and to have that moment with Sarah where he says, you know what, Sarah, it's okay. It's okay. Vote me, send me out. At the final 5, that was, I think, a very big and generous thing for Ben to do for Sarah, because if Sarah had been sitting in the final 3, that would have been a mark on her resume. That would have been her big move. You know, Tony's big move is probably when he votes out Sophie. If Sarah's big move is voting out Ben at the very end, backdooring Ben, that is a bigger move for the game. And that would have been a huge feather in her hat. And kudos to Ben for, you know, really just saying to her, you know, it's okay. It's okay if you vote me out. My friendship with you is more important than this game. And if that's what you have to do, I'm okay with that. I really was hot and cold with Ben all season long. You know, he had some moments that were not amazing and downright just silly. And then he kind of got on board with Tony and Sarah, and they really started cruising there for a period of the game, because this was a season where alliances were not real. If you had alliance one week, you didn't have an alliance the next week. And for those 3 people to finally get together was a huge impact on the outcome of the game. And they almost rode that alliance straight to the final 3. If it wasn't for Natalie coming back at the end to shake things up, I think it probably would have been those 3 sitting on the final 3 chairs. And yeah, would have been definitely a different outcome to this game. I'm probably getting a little bit long here, but just some general thoughts on the season to wrap things up. This season was amazing. I think this was very important to Survivor after last season having a little bit of controversy, and for this season to just be so great. Had all the winners back. Well, not all the winners, but 20 of the winners back to battle it out.